a kind of magic in certain baseball cards, a shimmer of something more than cardboard and stats. Some cards feel like a window into destiny, as if the moment they were printed, history had already been written. That's what the 1985 Topps number 536 Kirby Puckett rookie card feels like. The young man in powder blue, eyes locked on the pitcher, back cocked, legs planted, everything about him radiating readiness. But to understand why this card matters so deeply to collectors, fans, and baseball history, you have to understand the man behind it and where he came from. Because Kirby Puckett didn't come from the pipelines of privilege or the hotbeds of scouting. He came from the high-rises of Chicago's South Side, the youngest of 9 kids living in a housing project called the Robert Taylor Homes. He came from the streets, not the suburbs, from hand-me-downs, not showcases, from dreams, not guarantees. And yet, just a few years later, he'd be one of the most beloved baseball players in all of Major League Baseball, a Hall of Famer, a World Series hero, a face of a franchise, and a symbol of joy in the game. His journey wasn't supposed to happen, but Kirby made sure it did. This is the story of how that happened and why that first Topps card tells so much more than it shows. Kirby Puckett was born March 14, 1960 in Chicago, Illinois. His father worked at a Ford plant but wasn't always around. His mother was the heart of the family, raising 9 children in the unforgiving environment of the Robert Taylor projects. This wasn't a place where dreams thrived. It was a place where survival was the goal. Violence, poverty, and broken promises were everywhere. But so was Kirby's imagination. He wasn't big. Not at first. He wasn't supposed to be an athlete. By the time he reached high school, he barely played any organized baseball, but something burned inside of him. A sense of fun, of fearlessness, of belief. He had a joy about him. And when he picked up a bat or threw a ball, people noticed. He played at Calumet High School, but not enough to catch serious scouting attention. When he graduated, there were no college offers, no draft day calls, no scholarships. He went to work at Ford, following his father's footsteps on the line. Just like that, the dream should have ended. But Kirby was not done dreaming. After a year at the plant, he enrolled at Triton College, a junior college just outside of Chicago. It was a second chance, a long shot, but Kirby didn't just take it, he kicked the door down. At Triton, he exploded. The swing, the hustle, the instincts. Everything started to click. He hit .472 and stole bases like they were owed to him. Scouts started whispering, then talking, then showing up in droves. In 1982, he was drafted by the Minnesota Twins, first round, 3rd overall pick in the January phase. For a kid from the projects, the journey from factory floor to pro baseball happened in just 2 years. When Puckett entered the Twins organization, they weren't exactly contenders. The early 1980s were a rebuild, and Minnesota was looking for a spark, someone to believe in. Kirby gave them hope from day one. He hit .382 in his minor league debut season and became a fan favorite in places like Elizabethton, Visalia, and Toledo. Everywhere he went, he brought energy. He sprinted to first on walks. He hustled on every play. He smiled like the game was brand new. By May of 1984, the Twins had seen enough. They called him up to the big leagues. His debut was like something out of a movie. On May 8, 1984, at Anaheim Stadium, Puckett went 4 for 5. 4 hits in your first major league game, that does not happen. But Kirby made it look effortless. He wasn't hitting bombs. He wasn't built for that yet. But he sprayed the ball all over the field and played defense like a madman in center. His arm was electric. His glove was fast. And most of all, he looked like he was having more fun than anyone alive. Fans noticed. Broadcasters noticed. The league noticed. Kirby wasn't just good. He was magnetic. The kind of player you had to watch. The kind who made you love the game all over again. That rookie season in 1984 set the tone. He played 128 games, batted .296, and had 165 hits. But it was 1985, his first full season, when Topps immortalized him. The 1985 Topps number 536 card shows Kirby in the powder blue road uniform of the Minnesota Twins, crouched and ready to swing. It's not a pose shot, it's action. Focused. He's wearing number 34, helmet on, eyes burning a hole through the mound. In the background, you see the faded crowd, the greenish-blue wash of plastic seats. But Kirby's front and center, batting gloves on, arms flexed, the definition of locked in. The card was a declaration. This guy is for real. The card is designed classically 1980s, bold, clean, and a little loud. The bottom left has the slanted Twins in big blocky letters over a red banner, and in the bottom right corner is the old-school Twins logo with Kirby Puckett, outfielder, in white type. It's not glossy, it's not high-tech, but it does have soul. And for fans and collectors, it became a touchstone. Because by the end of that 1985 season, Kirby Puckett wasn't just another young player. He was a phenomenon. He played in all 161 games, hit .288, stole 21 bases, and racked up over 200 hits. That was Kirby's signature. Contact, hustle, consistency. He wasn't a power hitter yet, but he was everything else, and he was just getting started. The rookie card became one of the hottest in the hobby, not because of stats, but because people believed in Kirby. He had that rare charisma. He made people care. In a league full of stoicism and ego, Kirby Puckett felt different. He was barely 5'8", stocky, round-faced, and always smiling. He didn't look like a superstar. He looked like your neighbor, like a guy you'd grab lunch with. But when the game started, he turned into a warrior. He used joy as a weapon. He disarmed pitchers with hustle. He wore down defenses with singles, doubles, and line drives. And in center field, he turned fly balls into works of art. He'd chase down anything, crash into walls, dive full extension. Every game felt like an audition for greatness, and he kept winning the part. By 1986, Kirby was an all-star. By 1987, he was a world champion. But all of that came later. That 1985 Topps number 536 card captured the moment before it all happened. When Kirby Puckett was just a dreamer with a bat, when everything was still in front of him. That's what makes it so special. It's not just a rookie card, it's a prophecy. By the mid-1980s, the Minnesota Twins weren't just looking for talent, they were starving for relevance. It had been a long time since Rod Carew's elegant bat or Harmon Killebrew's towering home runs had lit up the Twin Cities. The team was searching for a new identity, a new face, a new reason for fans to believe again. They found it in Kirby Puckett. What started as a burst of promise in 1984 turned into a full-blown movement by the late 80s. Kirby wasn't just producing. He was redefining what a star looked like in Major League Baseball, not just in numbers, but in energy, and not just in talent, but in spirit. And if 1985 was the warning shot, the seasons that followed made it clear. Kirby wasn't here for a feel-good cameo. He was here to conquer. Coming off his strong rookie season, Kirby Puckett walked into 1986 with new goals and a new edge. The Twins were developing around him, but Kirby wasn't waiting for reinforcements. He took a quantum leap forward. He cranked out 31 home runs, a staggering jump from the 0 he hit his rookie year, and the modest 4 in 1985. Something had changed. His body was stronger. His swing had more lift. He was attacking pitches now, not just reacting. But he didn't sacrifice contact for power. That year, he also hit .328, scored 119 runs, and finished with a staggering 223 hits. He was everywhere. And suddenly, pitchers weren't just cautious, they were scared. Defensively, he was evolving too. In center field, he was a highlight machine. His routes were precise, his jumps were elite. He made the impossible look routine. In the Metrodome, the strange, echoey turf-laden bubble of a ballpark became his playground. For fans, watching Puckett roam the outfield or sprint the bases was addictive. He brought electricity to every single pitch. Every at-bat felt like an event. And unlike so many stars, he didn't carry himself like a diva. He played with joy, with urgency, with a kind of blue-collar fire that resonated deeply with Minnesota's working-class fans. By the end of 1986, Kirby wasn't just a rising star. He was one of the most dynamic players in all of baseball. And yet, his story was still being written. Ask any Twins fan over 40 about the greatest sports memory of their life, and odds are they'll say the 1987 World Series. And the engine of that magical run was Kirby Puckett. In 1987, Minnesota entered the season as an underdog. The roster was solid, but not spectacular. Kent Herbeck, Gary Gaddy, Frank Viola, Burt Blyleven. Good players, but not household names outside the Midwest. They needed a spark. They needed a leader. And Kirby answered the call. That year, Kirby Puckett put together a monster season. .332 batting average, 207 hits, 28 home runs, 99 RBIs, a Gold Glove, a Silver Slugger, and another All-Star appearance. But the numbers don't tell the whole story. The way he carried the team in clutch moments and pressure games in the locker room is the stuff that legends are built on. He wasn't a rah-rah screamer. He led with his actions, with effort, with consistency. And when the postseason rolled around, he elevated even further. In the ALCS against the Detroit Tigers, he was everywhere. Diving catches, smart base running, momentum-shifting hits. The Twins stunned the baseball world by beating Detroit and reaching their first World Series since 1965. And then came the showdown with the St. Louis Cardinals. It wasn't a clean or dominant series. It was a slugfest of emotion, a roller coaster of momentum. But through it all, Kirby remained steady. He hit .357 in the World Series, collected 10 hits, and played flawless defense in center field. The Metrodome shook with every play. Minnesota, a state so often overlooked in sports, was now the center of the baseball universe. And at the heart of it all, grinning, leaping, and slapping line drives, was Kirby Puckett. Game 7 was chaos. Viola's brilliance, timely hits, and final out that triggered the roof-raising celebration in the Dome. The Twins were world champions, and Kirby Puckett wasn't just a fan favorite anymore. He was a legend. After 1987, everything changed. The 1985 Topps number 536 card, already a hot commodity in collector circles, skyrocketed. It wasn't just a rookie card anymore. It was a piece of baseball history, a connection to a championship, a memento of greatness. Collectors had picked up the card when Kirby was a promising prospect contact hitter, suddenly realized they were holding a gold mine, not because of the resale value, but because of the emotional value. That image of Kirby in the batting stance, ready to explode, and now carried the weight of a World Series ring, of a city's rebirth, of a player proving everyone wrong. The card took on legendary status in the Midwest. Kids who idolized Kirby Puckett in 1987 now hunted down his rookie card in shops and shows on the weekend. Dads and sons bonded over binders filled with Twins cards. Dealers started showcasing it under glass. It became part of the hobby's elite, not because it was rare, but because it was revered. And yet, Kirby didn't care about any of that. He kept playing, kept smiling, kept grinding. Between 1987 and 1992, Puckett was a metronome of excellence. Each year, he hit over 300. Each year, he racked up over 190 hits. Each year, he patrolled center field like a hawk. And each year, the Twins relied on him, not just for production, but for identity. He made 6 consecutive All-Star teams, won multiple Gold Gloves and Silver Sluggers, but more than the accolades, he became Minnesota. He embraced the community, did charity work constantly, showed up at local schools, helped fund youth programs, and didn't just play for the Twins. He was the Twins. You could see it in the fans, in the old Metrodome parking lots. Kirby jerseys outnumbered all others. He was on cereal boxes, team posters, ticket stubs. He didn't ask for the spotlight. He earned it. And all while that 1985 Topps card gained more and more cultural weight, it was now a symbol of an era, a totem of loyalty, grit, and class. As incredible as 1987 was, 1991 might have even been better. The Twins, just 4 years removed from their last title, were back in the World Series, this time against the Atlanta Braves, in what unfolded over 7 games would go down as one of the greatest World Series in baseball history. And in Game 6, Kirby Puckett delivered the signature moment of his career. With the series on the line, he told his teammates before the game, "Jump on my back." He went out and played like a superhero. He robbed Ron Gant of an extra base hit with a soaring, wall-crashing catch in center, tripled, stole a base, drove in 3 runs, and then, in the bottom of the 11th inning, with the Metrodome at full roar, he stepped to the plate against Charlie LeBrant. He crushed a walk-off home run that sent the series to Game 7. Jack Buck's call, "And we'll see you tomorrow night," is etched in baseball lore. So is the image of Kirby rounding the bases, arms raised, pure ecstasy on his face. The next night, the Twins would win it all in 10 innings, on Gene Larkin's single. But it was Kirby who set the table, who carried the moment, and once again showed the world what heart and joy looked like under pressure. And once again, collectors went back to the vault, looking for that 1985 Topps number 536. That rookie card was no longer just a collector's piece. It was a relic of a baseball god. When a player wins a World Series, they become a champion. When a player defines 2 World Series, they become something more. For Kirby Puckett, the titles were never the whole story. They were milestones, not destinations. What truly made him unforgettable was the way he made the game feel. He brought theater to baseball, emotion, laughter, community. By the early 1990s, Kirby Puckett was no longer just a star. He was a cultural institution in Minnesota, a walking reminder of everything pure about the sport. His face was familiar to everyone from elementary school kids to grandparents. His name was spoken with reverence. His highlights were played like old songs that you never get tired of hearing. And through it all, that rookie card remained the quiet foundation of his myth, a photograph frozen in time, even as the legend kept growing. In 1992, Kirby Puckett had what many consider as the most dominant statistical season of his career. At 32 years old, most players start slowing down, but not Kirby. That year, he posted a .329 batting average, 200 hits again, for the seventh time in his career. A career-high 110 RBIs, a Gold Glove, a Silver Slugger, another All-Star appearance, and finished second in AL MVP voting behind Dennis Eckersley. He wasn't just producing, he was leading. Minnesota didn't make the postseason, but Puckett remained the heartbeat of the team and the city. He was dependable in a way few athletes ever are. No scandals, no drama, just excellence year after year. And while his game evolved, adding power, refining pitch selection, and adjusting for age, his joy never faded. Every swing, every sprint, every catch, Kirby made baseball fun. By the end of 1992, he had a career .318 average, over 1,900 hits, more than 180 home runs, and an arm that was still feared by base runners across the league. He also had amassed 10 Gold Gloves and led the league in hits 4 times. But the numbers didn't tell the whole story. He wasn't just loved because of what he did. He was loved because of who he was. Kirby Puckett was known for his barrel chest, round face, and infectious grin. But he wasn't a cartoon. He was real, raw, honest. And that humanity was what people gravitated toward. He talked like a fan. He signed every autograph. He remembered people's names. He gave his time generously. He built friendships with reporters, teammates, security guards, stadium workers. He made everyone feel important. He didn't chase headlines. He made memories. There's the time he bought gifts for every player on the team after a big road trip, or when he showed up to a Little League banquet without warning because he heard a kid's mom wrote a letter, or when he called a Twins beat writer out of the blue to say, "Thanks for telling the truth about me." In a sport that often celebrates stoicism and swagger, Kirby was a throwback, a man who wore his heart on his sleeve, and the fans returned that tenfold. You could see it in the Metrodome, packed crowds, standing ovation, kids wearing number 34 jerseys. You could see it in the lines at card shows, where that 1985 Topps rookie became a kind of holy grail for Midwestern collectors. Not because it was rare, but because it was his. In March of 1996, everything changed. During spring training, Puckett woke up one morning with blurred vision in his right eye. It wasn't pain. It wasn't trauma. It was just gone. The vision faded like a dream slipping away. Doctors diagnosed him with glaucoma, a condition where pressure builds in the eye, damaging the optic nerve. For most, it's manageable. For Kirby, it was career-ending. After multiple surgeries and treatments, the vision never returned. And on July 12, 1996, at just 36 years old, Kirby Puckett held a press conference and tearfully announced his retirement from baseball. Just like that, the story was over. No farewell tour, no final at-bat, no victory lap. The game had been taken from him, not by age, not by scandal, but by fate. It was one of the most heartbreaking retirements in modern sports history. The league mourned. Teammates cried. Opponents sent messages. Twins fans flooded the mail with letters of love and gratitude. And in those weeks, something else happened. The value of Kirby Puckett's 1985 Topps card exploded. Collectors weren't flipping it for cash. They were treasuring it, framing it, holding it tighter than ever. Because now, the card represented something finite, something irreplaceable. In 2001, in his first year of eligibility, Kirby Puckett was elected into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. It wasn't even close. Despite the shortened career, his numbers and his impact were undeniable. He finished with a lifetime .318 batting average, 2,304 hits, 10 All-Star appearances, 6 Gold Gloves, 6 Silver Sluggers, 2 World Series titles, and countless hearts won. His induction speech was classic Kirby, emotional, humorous, full of gratitude. He thanked his mother, his high school coach, his teammates, the fans, and he talked about how lucky he felt, not bitter about what was taken, but thankful for what he got to live. "I'm not here because I'm the best," he said. "I'm here because I gave everything I had." That line, "I gave everything I had," echoed through Cooperstown, through card shops, through ballparks and living rooms across America. And in every collector's mind, it brought new life to that rookie card. That 1985 Topps number 536 became more than an artifact. It became a symbol of everything Kirby stood for: humility, hustle, joy, perseverance. It became a miniature shrine to a man who changed the game, not with his glove or bat, but with his heart. What makes a card iconic? It's not just value, not just scarcity, not even stats. It's meaning. The 1985 Topps Kirby Puckett rookie card carries a weight few others can match because it shows Kirby at the beginning, before the titles, before the heroics, before the heartbreak. It shows a boy from the South Side, the kid who dreamed from a project window, the factory worker who took a second chance and turned it into history. It captures a moment before the world knew what he would become, and somehow, still exactly shows who he already was. The eyes, the stance, the readiness, it was all there. And for anyone who held that card as a kid, or pulled it from a pack in the 80s, or bought it years later to complete a collection, it's not just cardboard, it's a time machine. Back to a moment when Kirby Puckett wasn't just a player, he was possible. Greatness doesn't always get to end on its own terms. Sometimes, the most beautiful stories in sports are the ones that are also cut short. Not for lack of talent, but because of life's cruel unpredictability. And Kirby Puckett's story, for all of its joy and heroics, took a tragic turn after the final pitch was thrown. He had the stats, he had the rings, he had the legacy, but even more than that, he had the love. From teammates, from fans, from the city that watched him rise from an unknown to an icon. When he retired in 1996, Minnesota didn't just lose a player, they lost a beacon. And yet, Kirby never really left. His smile lingered in memories. His highlights stayed in heavy rotation. His presence hovered over the Metrodome like a ghost that laughed instead of haunted. And for fans and collectors alike, that rookie card became part of the object that kept him near. But sadly, the story didn't stop at retirement. In the early 2000s, just a few years after his Hall of Fame induction, Puckett's name made headlines again, but this time for the wrong reasons. In 2002, he was charged with false imprisonment and accused of sexual assault incident in a restaurant bathroom. Though he was eventually acquitted in court, the damage to his public image was severe. It was a gut punch to fans, to journalists who had idolized him, and to the narrative that Kirby was the perfect sports hero. Suddenly, the man who had once been the symbol of everything right in baseball was facing public scrutiny. It was confusing. It was disappointing. It was human. Many struggled with how to reconcile the two Kirbys, the joyful icon on the diamond and the flawed man in the news. And for a while, his legacy drifted into uncomfortable territory. Some collectors backed off. Some fans distanced themselves. But in Minnesota, something else happened. People didn't forget the allegations, but they also didn't forget the decades of generosity, decency, and community Kirby had shown. They held both truths at once, the pain of the fall and the brilliance of the rise. And in that complex place, his rookie card once again served as a kind of anchor, a reminder of the young man who ran to first base on walks, who made diving catches in center field, who said thank you after every autograph. Because sometimes the image on the card captures someone before the complications, not to erase them, but to remember where it all began. On March 5th, 2006, tragedy struck. Kirby Puckett suffered a massive stroke at his home in Scottsdale, Arizona. He was rushed to a hospital, but never regained consciousness. He passed away the next day, March 6th, 2006, at just 45 years old. The news hit like a lightning bolt. In Minnesota, fans gathered outside the Metrodome, leaving flowers and signs. Local radio went wall-to-wall with tributes. Former teammates broke down in interviews. Children who had grown up idolizing him now wept as adults. It's not just about losing a baseball player. It was losing a friend, a symbol, a piece of their own childhood. MLB held moments of silence in spring training stadiums across Florida and Arizona. Hall of Famers spoke openly about their heartbreak. The grief was national, but in Minnesota, it was personal. And once again, the 1985 Topps card reappeared. Collectors who had boxed it away now pulled it from binders and frames. Some laid it next to candles. Some posted it online with their favorite memories. Some simply held it, letting the weight of its 2.5 by 3.5 inches carry a lifetime of emotion. Because Kirby Puckett was gone, but that card, and everything it stood for, remained. The 1985 Topps number 536 card isn't flashy by today's standards. It doesn't have holograms. It's not serial numbered. It's not autographed. You can find it raw at card shows for under $50, but its real value has never been monetary. Its value lies in what it represents. A journey from the south side of Chicago to Cooperstown, from overlooked to unstoppable, From a kid working on an assembly line to one of the greatest to ever put on a Twins uniform. The image on the card is simple. Kirby in his batting stance, ready for the pitch. Focused, compact, alert. It's not a card that screams, it whispers. It whispered, this kid is going to be something. And he was. He was an MVP candidate, a world champion, a Hall of Famer, a community leader, a lightning bolt of joy in a game that often felt so rigid and cold. He was flawed, he was human, but he was also unforgettable. And that's what makes this card timeless. Today, when you walk into Target Field, the modern home of the Minnesota Twins, you'll find tributes to Kirby everywhere. His number 34 is retired and emblazoned in the outfield. A bronze statue stands outside the gates, frozen mid-swing, his eyes locked on an invisible pitch. Inside the concourses, photos of his heroics from 1987 and 1991 still bring fans to a standstill. And in card shops around Minneapolis, in the attics and collections of fans who will never let it go, that 1985 Topps number 536 continues to matter. It's not a status symbol, it's a connection. To a time when baseball was magic, to a player who gave everything he had, to a smile that made the game feel warmer. The beauty of collecting cards is that sometimes, without realizing it, you're collecting people, memories, moments. You pick up a piece of cardboard, and years later, you find yourself holding a childhood, a voice, a victory, a loss. Kirby Puckett's rookie card is all of that. It's a photo of a swing not yet taken. It's an echo of Game 6 in 1991. It's the dirt-stained jersey, the gold glove dive, the back-to-back 200-hit seasons. It's the Metrodome turf and Bob Casey's booming voice announcing Kirby Puckett. The last walk-off, the last wave, the last I love you to the crowd. It's joy, it's heartbreak, it's baseball. It's Kirby Puckett. And as long as we have that card, as long as collectors open a box and find it with a smile, as long as kids ask, who was he? And someone says, let me tell you a story. Kirby Puckett lives on. This has been Cardboard Credentials, where every card has a story. Be sure to subscribe to our TikTok, our YouTube, and on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts.